in this convention. That painting is sort of more of a snapshot. We're going to take a closer look, and I'm going to use a lot more pictures for this rather than words. And also numbers. So 53 is the number of men who were at the start, who first were there, but 39 is all the faces you're going to see in this painting. They're all the ones that stayed till the end. There was a lot going on, and 14 of them basically just couldn't take it. Could not survive through the whole thing. You had people from 12 states. Rhode Island. Rhode Island's such a messed up state. They were one of the smallest states, and they actually kind of really liked how the U.S. government was working out, basically leaving them alone. So they didn't send anybody from Rhode Island. This is happening 11 years after the Declaration of Independence, but they're in the same room. It got a little bit of a makeover, but not much of one, really, frankly. And so this is almost a little less than your whole lifetime in between those two events. There are 5 very important guys that you've seen and learned about in a different video. But 4 is the number of months that they end up working on all this stuff until the very end, which is what this painting is supposed to show. What's really going on inside? So again, they're in this building. So that's the same as 1776. They're in this room that's the same, with just little bits of changeovers. But again, they're all arranged by state, groups from each state at each table. They just had to spread it out a little bit more because of the number of guys who showed up. And it's also hot, right? They're coming here in the middle of the year. They're wearing those multiple layers, and some of them still have the wigs. They're on the 2nd floor of this building, and heat rises. There's a little bit of science here. So that's just like how it was around July when they were doing the Declaration. And just like before, there's a lot of pressure on them. So besides the weather, they're also feeling it sort of inside. Outside is like the heat, but they're sort of feeling the heat inside as well. The Declaration, of course, was going against the King of England. No one had ever done something as big a deal as that. And this one's got some pressure too, because they're not actually really supposed to be doing all that they're doing. They're supposed to just be fixing up the first Constitution. But they end up going a lot farther than that. And they're trying to fix all those problems that we've looked at before. So definitely pressure. Okay. What's different? This time, they swear themselves to secrecy. And they lock the doors. And they close up the windows. So they're making sure that this time, they're going to keep more secrets inside. This time, they're not going to let the public in so much. So actually, we don't know everything that happened inside here because they've zipped their lips and they've locked the doors. And a lot of that's this guy's idea. He's kind of acting like a military leader here, right? Like closing things down. No, we're not going to let other people know our plans. And so he's going to use his gavel to try to, and those eyeballs to keep control. He makes them raise their hand. Yes, of course. The hands are white. Everybody's white. Anyway, he's keeping control of things. And one way also to keep control a bit more effectively than they did back around the Declaration time is they split up more into groups. They spend a lot more time. A lot of the time, they're not all in the same room. They use other parts of the building. They spread out, kind of like this group here, spreading out so they can be more effective. They can get more stuff done at the same time. So these are things that are different. G-Dubs wasn't there before. They didn't break up into as many groups before. They didn't, use the hand-raising system so much before, as we saw in that video. And it was not secret with the doors and windows locked before. But of course, let's remember too, that's going to make things hotter and increase the pressure. So all these things kind of working together. Okay, last little thing. There are a lot of issues that they're trying to decide. How much voting power should each state have? Should it still be equal? What do we do about slavery? We don't have anyone who can do like war or emergency powers to act really quickly. If we're going to have a president, who would even get to decide who that is? And our justice system, since that was all messed up, was one of the problems they're trying to fix. So for all of these problems and more, there's one way that all of these get solved, and that is the magic word of compromise. Compromise, compromise, in between my way and your way, finding that in between point. So for all of these issues, they don't go too extreme either way. They hint for all these things, right? They don't make big decisions about slavery. They make sort of an in-between thing about the president and the justice and the war powers and the voting power. And we're going to explore that in class. But the one thing I just want to make sure that you know is that this is the way, is compromise. Sometimes meeting in the middle might not always be the right way to do it, right? Like these guys meeting in the middle here. So one way would be if you're trying to decide on a pizza. We're going to have all cheese, so you're like, I want all cheese. And so we're like, I want all pepperoni. And sometimes you can divide it like this. That's a compromise, right? We're not going to have all pepperoni or all cheese. Some other times it doesn't quite work out as well. But that was the big idea. The one thing I want you to understand is that they compromised. They met in the middle on, well, pretty much everything. And that's our look inside the Philadelphia Convention of 1787.